So I've had quite a few little questions about the Wheel of Time series and show recently, some of which was like, hey, why isn't there a fantasy news yet covering the latest casting? Well, I just did a fantasy news, and as is tradition in all of media, they wait for me to do one, then they announce things, so that I then either have to do back-to-back fantasy news or be late covering stuff, so I guess I'm just gonna be late because I don't like doing back-to-back fantasy newses. Anyway, instead of addressing some of that, I want to address something else, because I've had quite a few people who are like, Daniel, you wouldn't say anything that would possibly be negative about the Wheel of Time show. You're desperate for approval from them. I'm really not. And also on top of that, I have quite a few things that if they did for the Wheel of Time show, I would be rather upset. So in this video, I'm gonna cover some don'ts for the writers over there. Hey y'all, pay attention. Don't do these things. And I'm not gonna be picking like low-hanging fruit either, or stuff that we like know they're already not going to do. That would be ridiculous and just me like listing out like, don't make Hopper the Dragon Reborn. No, I'm gonna pick things that seem feasible for the writers to possibly think is a good idea and say, no, that's not something you should do for this show. And I'm gonna try and restrict it to earlier season decisions for now, because I'd like to possibly do a follow-up video for this, like once they've done some things and I can like speculate for later on seasons. So we're gonna keep it to like book 1-2 territory, and you know, spoilers. Spoilers. So first up, I'm gonna go to the Two Rivers. I'm gonna bring it on in to our home little village here, this cute little town. Look how cute it is with little thatched roofs and stuff. And I'm gonna say already, just straight up, you can't really change much about the establishment here of how the party leaves. That won't annoy me a bit. It's rather important to me to capture and maintain Jordan's vision of a Shire-like village that has an attack happen, and these people need to head on out. I'm a get on out, head on out SpongeBob meme. That's important for me to maintain. Maybe some shifts in terms of like actually enhancing the horror themes I'd be okay with. I actually like how scary this sequence is. Things along those lines, but in terms of the beat by beat end result and what causes it, no change. That being said, controversial opinion, cut Narg. I don't care about him, and I think it's weird that he exists. It's a fun meme within the community, but I don't want a random talking Trolloc that then never reoccurs, and it's like, hey, why did this Trolloc talk this one time? It's jarring in the books. It'd be even more jarring in the show. I specifically want nothing changed about Tam. Tam is a perfect little precious child. We've seen some potential leaks and rumors around some origin changes for our three boys, specifically involving Perrin. I don't really care about those, again, as long as we go through the main beats of what Jordan's going through, but it's so crucial to me to have the mysterious Black Rider, the attack on Nimon's Field, Rand's feverish, plight through the woods. That all has to add up, as well as the extraordinary wholesomeness of this little village festival. Don't, for some reason, forget that. Keep this, and move on from there. I like everything in these major setting elements that then lead to us being sent off. That's all important to me. And I'm just gonna hammer home one last time with a little pat. Me having a blade this close to my face, kind of weird. Okay, definitely lean into the horror elements. Actually, I'm going to say one thing you should change, make it even scarier. I want the beginning of the Wheel of Time to be kind of terrifying. I don't know why, I just really think that'll actually pay off and be a great establishment of the shadow. Shadar Logoth. Guess what I'm gonna say here after I just said I like the scary stuff. Keep it scary, keep it mysterious, make Matt adult who goes off and does something dumb. I like that this is like a terrifying setting where we have our young village farm boys just deciding to stroll on down the creepy street and, be dumb, wool-headed, sheep-herding idiots. I like this. It's a good side tangent for them. It sets up who they are, the fact that they are still dumb kids, which I think is also an important thing to remember and keep for these characters. It also has a really great plot line for Matt, so don't forget that for Matt. Matt deserves his own pat from the writers to give him his own little skedat. I tried to make it rhyme, it didn't work. So yes, for this beginning whole chunk of the first book, I'd really like to see it stay more loyal than not. Maybe make it a bit more terrifying and grittier, but that's only because I like to have a send-off that's really gonna entice and hook people, and I think could actually pay off very well for the show. I'm not saying make the whole of Wheel of Time dark and grittier. No. Just this little beginning, I really want to see reach a impactful holy smokes, because I think that'll make Moraine's character actually shine all the brighter. Hear me out. As long as they keep what Jordan set up, and then focus on how dangerous and disturbing and creepy the shadow is. Having Moraine come out and be all like, will just be all the more awesome and make her all the more interesting and tantalizing, and I think in the visual medium helps set her up as the mysterious badass she is. Every time I have legs showing in a video, y'all like comment on it. You're just jealous of these calves right here. All right, now we're gonna fast on forward a little bit to something I also believe they must keep in the show, and that is Rand's encounter with Logain. I really, really love this scene. I think it helps set up Logain down the road, though I also am happy to hear they're apparently gonna be playing up Logain because he's one of Rafe Judkins' favorite characters. That's a change I agree with. But this specific scene always stuck with me, where Rand, you know, he's doing his little Randy bit, sitting on a wall, and then he just makes eye contact with this false dragon, and they have this moment. I just think it's great. I think this is a really just, for some reason, it helps encapsulate how epic and huge this is all going to be, and that there's greater things at play. This small moment was so brilliant from Jordan, and this needs to stay too. I don't know why I'm just like picking random favorite scenes, but that's what this video is going to devolve into, and you're just along for the ride. I could very easily see, with everything going on, you know, certain things writers are gonna have to cut. And I'm not against that, but one thing they cannot cut is the ways. The ways must stay the ways they are. This is another like key factor for me for world building that just has to remain and makes a prevalent appearance in book one, and is one that I think should stay because it's, again, something that just kind of increases the scope of the Wheel of Time by giving it this interesting dynamic a lot of people haven't seen before. But it's also just so different. Like, the ways are one of the elements of the Wheel of Time that just feels like something else. You're just like, wow, this is something I've never encountered before in fantasy. It may be a little bit similar, but not like this. And the Black Wind, we're gonna keep the Black Wind. That's an element we need to keep too. It could easily be written out, just like the Ogier could be easily written out, but should not be, because it's just such an integral part of one of the things that makes the Wheel of Time special. No, I'm not gonna hate the show if they happen to do this, but I just really love it, and I would appreciate it if it could stay. This infinite black void that somehow puts existential dread in you in this, you know, not futuristic fantasy setting, but somehow feels otherworldly and beyond our full comprehension. It's just, give me some infinite black void, please. Speaking of things that are just uniquely Wheel of Time, this one might seem obvious and like a low-hanging fruit, but I'm gonna say it anyway. One of the major elements that makes Robert Jordan's The Wheel of Time special, and I've said this before, is his work with culture, and how he just looked to every time period all across the world and the real world, the different beautiful, wonderful cultures, just blended them together and brought up his own interesting visions of, you know, humanity's development and future through different customs and things like this. And I really need to stress that this show needs to put the time and work in for that. If you want to actually embody the Wheel of Time, the Aiel need to be the Aiel. Kariyenin need to be Kariyenin. Andorans need to feel distinct and different. Those in Abu Dar need to feel distinct and different. I never thought I'd say this, but holy crap, am I going to care about these dresses. I am going to be looking with my book open, going, is this... Okay, that's an Andoran dress. I never thought I'd be that guy, but I might be that guy. Those, like, they're a little bit different, but as long as they're distinct, I'll be okay with it. But in terms of like certain outfits, like an acceptance robe needs to look like an acceptance robe. The Aiel veil and garb needs to look like the Aiel connoisseur. So the costuming department, I imagine, has probably like one of the most difficult jobs that a costuming department has ever had. And that is going through the Wheel of Time and trying to figure out how to make all of these different cultures' unique aesthetics come to life. And I don't envy them that. And I hope they do take some creative liberties. I'd like to see, you know, these people take inspiration and run with it. But as long as they're taking that inspiration and putting the time and work to make each country feel like its own thing, ooh, I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be interested. All right, we're going broad concept here, so I'm gonna hit on one more broader concept for the Wheel of Time. That's more of like a meta element to Wheel of Time, but they should still keep in their heads and try and somehow deliver to us, the viewer. And this is about how the Wheel of Time has slight sci-fi elements. Permeating throughout the pages, especially upon rereads, you're going to pick up more and more in the fact that this was once a futuristic world, and there are just remnants of that here. Whether it's some things with the Forsaken, or just lines dropped or symbols that just, oh, is that a... We need to keep those. I don't know if they need to be as bold and forefront to the story as sometimes they are in the books, because there are pretty just like obvious ones, but definitely keep some of the lore and maybe like subtextually put in the viewer's mind that this was somehow futuristic and sci-fi. Like maybe put in the soundtrack a slight hint of like the oh so popular lo-fi kind of aesthetics that are going on. I'm not saying like do it boldly, like forefront of the track, don't go full like Blade Runner soundtrack, but some like background element in a score that just feels like, wait, that doesn't feel like classical, that feels, what's happening? Some slight little nudge, and I want this to be so subtle, but those kind of sound design choices, I'm a big sound design guy, you probably could tell that if I've even paying attention to what I say about shows on the channel. Those little choices can have a massive impact. Just how Star Wars was made in the edit and with the score here for the Wheel of Time could score major points if they just insert something like this and pull it off right. And that'll give them a very standout, interesting feel that's really different than a lot of the other stuff being put out for the fantasy landscape. Because not too many of these fantasy adaptations have elements where it's actually like, oh no, wait, this is the future of Earth. Ah. All right. Back to actual like story beats in the first book. I don't have enough time to get into the second book too right now, so I'm just going to assume season 1's book 1, and we're just going to cover book 1 here. But we're going to fast forward a good chunk into the story. We're going all the way to the Blight. The Blight will not be easy. So we've already had spooky dark forests in this season quite a bit. If you look and reread Wheel of Time, there's a lot of spooky woods. There's quite a bit of the creepy crawlies in the woods and the branches breaking, and now we need to like upgrade from there for this story. Not an easy task, actually. Bringing the Blight to life and making it feel as dangerous, disturbing, and haunting as it is supposed to be in the books, I don't envy you the challenge, but you better do it. Again, this is going to come down, I think, a lot to sound design choices. Obviously, like filters and the lighting will be huge, and performances, quite frankly. Having the actors behave in a certain way. But there's just, man, the Blight is going to be another thing that's just going to have to like hit the viewer in the right way, and I'll be keeping my little peepers out for that. And now let's hit a final story thing. And I'm actually going to go the opposite way of the direction. We've been going down the river one way, and I'm actually going to swim back up this right here. And that's the ending of The Eye of the World. The specific way it ends and how it does not really mesh with the rest of the Wheel of Time. Robert Jordan made some choices here that I feel like if you asked him now, he would go, yeah, I did that because I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to publish the entire series, and I feel like I needed to wrap things up in a certain-ish way here. And so he does that. And I feel like they should have the most creative liberty in terms of plot and chugging along when it comes to rewriting this. The ending of The Eye of the World, having Rand have this encounter with this otherworldly being, you don't necessarily need to do away with that, but you need to write it in a way where what is happening is conveyed more clearly to your audience, and it makes more sense down the road. Now, it doesn't make completely no sense in the text. Like, Robert Jordan didn't just forget this scene and say, move on. You can fill in the blanks in your own. But the viewing audience isn't going to be that. It's the same reason why even in the good seasons of A Song of Ice and Fire, they just downplayed some of the mystic elements. I feel like if you're going to downplay some form of mystic element, this one here needs to be a bit more straight cut, because it's also the season finale, assuming this is just the first season for season 1, and you don't want to leave people on a note where they're going, what was that? They want to go, oh, that was... Oh. Write it in a way so that is what is accomplished. Oh man, I went from being like specific things to like meta concepts to just change it. But I don't know, this is just like my ranty thoughts of like things that shouldn't be changed. Very important, distinct Wheel of Time feeling elements for season 1. And by no means am I covering all of them. There are so many other things in season 1 where it's like you need to capture Moraine, right? Like I didn't even touch on characters. Yes, these characters need to remain the characters, but I wasn't trying to pick like low-hanging fruit like that. Like yes, Moraine needs to be Moraine. And if you screw up that, or Rand, or Lan, or Perrin, or Matt, we're going to have problems. But I don't think that's actually much of like an issue because of the casting and like various things we've seen, so I think they're going to get those obvious elements right. For me, it's more of just like, here are some of the things I think actually are at risk of being possibly changed, and we should focus on saying don't change these things. Even though it's a little too late, the season 1's been written and mostly shot. But I'm just saying it and putting it out there. Cool, alright? Yeah, cool, alright. This is the end of the video now. Like and subscribe if you have not already. Hit the Patreon if you want to support what I do here. I was very afraid that I was somehow going to cut my green screen with this, but this is like tough material, so I don't think that's actually a risk of happening. And have a good one, y'all. Peace. And of course, I'd like to record a special shout out to my 2 latest high tier Patreons, Michael Gagliardi, and Jody Jacob. I think I said those somewhere near right. Thank you guys so much. I hope you're having a good one.